Welcome to Your Source TV. I'm Tamara Stuchlak, and in this segment, we discuss bees. Bees and why it's important to you. No bees, no food. Bees are dying worldwide. Bees are the most important creatures to humans on Earth. 1 in every 3 bites of your food is derived from plants pollinated by bees. So with us in this segment, we have Derek Condit and Jean-Pierre Schwartz. Derek is a Shungite beekeeper. He's retired Army. He has been a commercial deep-sea diver. He's a beekeeper from the state of Washington. He discovered that Shungite, a mineral from Russia, caused his bee colony to grow from 50,000 to 500 million in 11 weeks just last year. Jean-Pierre Schwartz is an engineer from France. He's an investment banker with over 30 years of international experience, and he's an advocate for the Save the Bees project. So both welcome, and let's jump right in. Derek, what is happening to bees and why is your discovery so important?
It's actually pretty devastating. The bees are, as you may have heard, it's called colony collapse disorder, and the losses are happening worldwide. The bees aren't returning back to their hives after they're out foraging for honey and nectar. So what's happening is the bees, the attrition rate and the numbers just get lower and lower as the season passes, and it's from a wider range of various maladies, things that harm the bees, be it the EMF or chemicals. So it's pretty devastating on the numbers, and we're having losses worldwide in all the beekeepers. So it's a huge problem.
And it's been well known for many years, yes?
Many years. It's over a decade. They've slotted and counted the colony collapse disorder losses, and they've grown over years.
Mm-hmm. And EMF is electric magnetic fields, and that's a relatively recent discovery that it's very contributing to the disparition of bees. Until now, I was thought that was more toxic from pesticides and herbicides, but EMF now is a very important contributor to the problem.
So you're a beekeeper in the state of Washington, and how did you come across Shungite and this Russian miracle mineral and using it on the hives, and it's become a solution?
Actually, it started probably 2 to 3 years ago. I'd heard about and read about the colony collapse disorder and the loss of the bees and how devastating it can be on all of life. And as you mentioned, every 3rd bite of food is, comes from bees. So I did research. I was looking into various. I'm also an organic person, so I prefer that route. So I look for natural sources and things to possibly help the bees. And then between research and intuition, just put together, and I'd found Shungite probably the year before, online, researched that, had read how they're using it in Russia for various healing modalities, and then thought, well...
For humans?
For humans, yeah. And then I'd read scientific studies that showed Shungite can also block various frequencies and Wi-Fi signals and just harmful frequencies. So I thought, well, why not put that together with the bees and see if we can coat the beehives in various ways or have the bees around it and see if we can't help that out and see what kind of effect it might have.
So what's the story of you then using it and really seeing these amazing results?
It was pretty amazing. The first time we did it, I started in 2016, and we initially started with just 3 Shungite nuggets, which are small black rocks from Russia. And they're a special rock, mineral like you stated. So I simply walked out to the beehive and placed 3 of the nuggets at the entrance and observed. And then we saw that the bees immediately would just start to tend to be near the Shungite nuggets they preferred to be. It was pretty drastic results just in their behavior alone. And then as the weeks progressed and we saw the numbers exponentially growing in the hives with no losses, then we started to get pretty excited and kind of follow it from there.
So you found that the bees were healthier, more resilient, not sick, less diseased, the hives expanded. So talk about how you observed this over time and then came to understand this would need to be a project of yours worldwide.
Mm-hmm. Sure. The bees are struggling from various sicknesses, mites, disease, fungus, all sorts of maladies that hurt them. So if the bees are able to maintain peak health, much like ourselves, they can fight off a lot of these. So what we found
was... But with pesticides and EMF, you have more stress, just like we humans.
Exactly.
So we're...
Yeah, and the harmful frequencies, the cell phones don't just harm us, they harm the bees, they harm all life. So we found is giving the bees an environment. So what we've done is taken the Shungite in powder form, added it to the paint of the beehives, and painted the outside. So in essence, it's called a Faraday cage. The militaries use these. It's to block electronics from damaging EMF signals, radiation, all sorts of things.
Microwaves.
Microwaves.
Yes.
So when the bees are home for that percentage of time they're in their hive, they're able to maintain peak health or recuperate from the day's toxicity, and then they just basically are able to deal with the mites themselves, and so they don't have the disease. They're so healthy they can remove the mites and keep it at manageable numbers. So we have no sickness, no loss or mites in our bees, and we're in our second year now doing that, and it's just simply from Shungite, pretty much letting the bees get as healthy as possible.
Yeah, and they get lost until found about Shungite. The EMF has an impact on their navigational system. That's why they don't come back, basically, and that's why you have the colony collapse. The Shungites changed totally that story. And my story, how I got into this project and a strong proponent of this use of Shungite for bees, is from personal reasons. I have some arrhythmia, and my integrative doctor, in fact, said, why don't you look at Shungite? That may protect you because
For your heart.
For my heart, because it will protect you against EMF. EMF has definitely an impact on the heart and health, human health.
To wear it on your body?
In fact, I have one here. Here's a Shungite. And so she said, look into Shungite, that may be very useful for you. And I did a research, and what did I find by doing research? I found a video with Derek explaining what happened with these bees. And I was so flabbergasted when he said, our bees now are, after a few weeks, they're healthy, they come back, there is no disease. They grew from 50,000 to almost 1 million bees in a matter of 11 weeks. I said, this is unbelievable. I have to know more about it. So I contacted him, and I thought, with my experience in finance, I've done big things in finance. I thought I could probably help funding all this effort. So I contacted him, and then that's history. Now we're working together on that project.
Fantastic. What are some of the properties of Shungite and what you've come to understand?
Sure. Shungite, the key portion of Shungite that does all the magic would be the C60 molecule. So there's actually a molecule inside of Shungite the shape of a soccer ball. And what that does is attenuates radiation and free radicals. It's being used at Fukushima now in Japan. Shungite is. They're actually pouring it in there, scientists and doctors are, to attenuate the radiation.
So it's rehabbing the radiation.
It's basically breaks it apart. So it's not grabbing it like a filter. It breaks it apart so that it's not harmful any longer, is what it is. So as the frequencies, so if we talk about the bees and they're in their Shungite environment, as I call it, in their beehive, any Wi-Fi signals or cell phone signals that come by, it attenuates them or blocks them. It basically breaks the harmful frequency of it, and then lets them maintain peak health and efficiency. And that's how they maintain, basically, without the losses, by just staying healthy, and it works out really well.
So are other beekeepers, knocking on your door and excited and want to know more?
They are. It's relative. So there's kind of standoffish beekeepers a little that way, but they're definitely willing to try it. And the results that are coming in now are very good. They're showing the same results I have. And it depends where we're talking. In Europe, there's beekeepers trying it as well. There's many in the U.S. We probably have
probably 2 dozen.
It's probably at least different beekeepers trying it.
So
and this is through word of mouth, because this benefit of Shungite is becoming known by Derek has been on many radio shows, and they want to know, and people listen, and then they call him, and he sends the Shungite. That's until now it's been word of mouth, and of course our project now wants to make that at a different level of informing everybody and beekeepers of the benefits of Shungite, and that they have to do that, otherwise our bees are going to go.
A little bit of background on, there's commercial bee production and private. Talk about that, and are you targeting
Sure.
both?
We target the commercial beekeeper because often, for example, in California, they use a lot of commercial beekeepers. And they use bees. They'll actually bring the bees around on their hives to the different orchards, be it almond orchards or whatnot, for pollination. But of course, these crops are, they're sprayed with various pesticides and whatnot. So then those bees come back to the hives, and they contaminate the other bees and the honey that's in the hives. So it's a big problem with that, and just the movement of the chemicals. And unfortunately, the bees do bring it back with them to the hive, and then the honey's sold on the supermarket shelves as well. So and then the normal beekeepers, so not normal, but the more.
So is
I guess mom and
organic
pop.
really organic, or the pesticides and
That's something I learned that I didn't know. I thought, if I buy, because I use honey and I use organic honey, but they said, well, even organic, probably 95% of honey is contaminated because beekeepers have to treat their bees against viruses and other pests, and they do it with chemicals. And some of those chemicals, unfortunately, ends up in the honey. So even what you think is pure organic honey has some traces of chemicals, which is not the case. And of course, Derek is making honey on his property, and his honey is totally pure because he doesn't use chemicals at all.
So what has the response been from the commercial beekeepers?
A little more hesitant because there's a lot of people that have their save the bee idea and different aspects, and they all work
Are they effective?
to a degree. To
To this degree?
No, nowhere near this degree, because again, we're in our second year of no losses from any sickness or disease of any kind. And the typical response would be 40 to 100% losses for your average beekeeper each year from the colony collapse disorder. And again, there's many things that will contribute to that, but the bees basically don't return home is what it is. So we're having some pushback on the commercial beekeeper side, but the mom and pop ones are really willing to try it, and they're having great results. So that's really encouraging.
Do you use other techniques also, or your Shungite and that's getting all your results?
That's getting all our results as far as attenuating the harmful signals and keeping the bees healthy. But we've made other changes, for example, using natural mushrooms I gather from our mountains as smoker material. So the smoker, little devices people may have seen beekeepers use. So rather than putting artificial materials in it or newspapers, yeah, exactly. So you put antibiotic mushrooms in there, and you can dry those and use them, and they work real well on the bees too.
So let's talk, Derek, about where you're wanting support in terms of what you're focusing your mission on right now. Okay. Ways that you want people to volunteer and get involved and know about this. And
sure. Actually, we're trying to organize chapters, we're calling them, in each state and wherever in Europe we can, hoping to get involved individuals and share the word, and maybe have a rep in, for example, each U.S. state where beekeepers can go and get some free information and ask questions. And we've made forums available online with video, and have answered questions. So we try and share the information.
What's working the best for you?
And then also, I add to that, to help beekeepers convert to Shungite, help them, provide them with Shungite kits for both honeybees and solitary bees, other types of bees. So give them the tools, the information and the tools to be able to switch easily, and some guidance, of course, on how to do it successfully.
Any other aspects of your programming and your education that you want people to know about?
No, it's pretty much what I would also emphasize is the fact that not just adding Shungite makes a difference. You need to stop all the chemicals. So I'm very pro anti-chemical. Just if you leave the bees alone to themselves and stop the chemical treatments, but add the Shungite, they basically regenerate to perfect health, and the attrition rate again falls off to where they live longer, the numbers stay, we have no losses. It's really stopping the harmful additives that many beekeepers use, again, the chemicals for treatments for mites. But with Shungite, you let the bees get healthy enough on their own, they'll take care of the mite problems. Then you don't have to use the chemicals that's often used.
What a holistic system that you've applied to bees. This is fantastic.
Yeah, and the plan also includes from Derek's property to make that a repository of knowledge and information, welcome people to come and visit, to learn. And a whole plan to go to conferences about bees, and either as a speaker or as an exhibitor. It's a whole very large effort to quickly inform beekeepers or potential beekeepers as well that we have the solution. This is a game changer. This is the solution. What has been done to save the bees until now, it's well-intentioned, but it's Band-Aid, really. It's help temporarily, but it doesn't fix a problem, just delays the problem.
So there are many videos and information that we'll share with everyone. Just in our coming to a close here, any final thoughts, Derek, about what has you so excited?
Just the drastic effects and changes I've seen. I was a little hesitant myself. I knew it would have an effect, but just the amazing, it's almost like overnight. I had no losses from our first season on, where again, the losses are usually huge among beekeepers. So it's really exciting that it doesn't take any time to start. You can start right away and you can see immediate effects within just weeks, just by adding the Shungite and again, stopping the chemicals. And the aggression of the bees changes, the numbers again boost. So it's really beneficial and it's really fast.
Jean-Pierre, there are some innovative uses of a Shungite that you're interested in.
Absolutely, and that's something that Derek has not mentioned, is that he and his wife Maureen are making, and have been making for some time, beautiful, natural, totally pure products using honey and other products from his bees, and also Shungite. So we are really amazed by the beauty and the number of pure products that he makes on his property. And we have, of course, many at home. And I think that's something that should be appreciated by the public in general, is that these are the real pure products. There are no chemicals in them because of the use of Shungite allows him to work without any chemical addition.